Welcome back. It's me, Lou. All right, so I hope you can hear me. I'm like in the middle of a thunderstorm right now, and I'm in my car. Today we are in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and we're visiting the video game shop, Retro Dimension. So I was at the shop once before last year when it opened up on its grand opening. It was an impressive shop back then, and it's been months since I've been there. As you know, I've been on this video game kick, and I'm just hunting down a bunch of video games from my youth and maybe the stuff that catches my eye. So yeah, today we're going to check out Retro Dimension in Arlington Heights. So let's get started. All right, so I hope you can hear me. I'm in the middle of a thunderstorm right now. So I just left the store. Retro Dimension in Arlington Heights, and I grabbed a bunch of games. So we're going to take a look at those right now, and you know, if you can hear me, great. Right now my car is getting pounded by all this rain. So yeah, let's get started with what I got. Alright, so first off, I grabbed this. This was for the Sega Genesis, produced by Electronic Arts. We have Bulls versus Blazers. Alright, so I'm a child of the 90s, and I grew up in the Chicagoland area. So I was a part of that whole Chicago Bulls dynasty when they were just like completely destroying the NBA and winning championship after championship. This game brings back so many memories of that time, and for me, it's just pure nostalgia. I loved the old NBA games by Electronic Arts from back in the day, and for me, this is just, you know, it's like a nice homecoming. For me, this is just like my youth growing up. So yeah, stoked on this. Up next, I grabbed another Genesis game. We have X-Men on the Genesis, produced by Sega. Awesome game. Another X-Men game I was on the lookout for while I was at the store was the Capcom X-Men game on the Super Nintendo. That game, I think, had better gameplay. But again, just out of pure nostalgia, this was something I really wanted. And I'm also on the lookout for the second X-Men game, the Clone Wars. Alright, so hopefully you can hear me. Like I said, I'm in the middle of a thunderstorm. So I'm just kind of sitting in my car, waiting out the rain. But yeah, let's keep on moving. Alright, the next game that I grabbed today was this. This is Final Fight for the Super Famicom, the Japanese equivalent of the Super Nintendo. I had this game back in the day also. Again, it's another game I sold. There's 3 versions of this game on the 16-bit systems. There's a Super Nintendo, Super Famicom version, which we're looking at right now. There's the Genesis Mega Drive version, which a lot of people argue might be the best version. And then there's also the Sega CD one. Way back in the day, I also had the Sega CD version. Unfortunately, I sold that one, and it's worth a couple hundreds of dollars. So I'm kind of kicking myself. But yeah, I saw this in a shop for a reasonable price, and I could not say no. So yeah, we have Final Fight on the Super Famicom. And then I also grabbed this. The box art's kind of wrecked because there was a label on it. But we have Weapon Lord on the Super Nintendo. This was produced by Namco way back in the day. I want to say toward the later end of the 16-bit era. They produced this game both on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. Many people argue that the Genesis one, I think, has tighter gameplay. But if you want superior sound and graphics, of course, you're going to go to the Super Nintendo. I do want the Genesis version, though, but I saw this in the shop. Again, couldn't say no, had to have it. Stoked to have Weapon Lord in my collection. And hopefully you can hear me. The rain is really pouring really bad. Up next, we have this. We have Hook on the Super Nintendo. Again, this was a game I had in my youth. I liked this game a lot. Right, so it's like really bad right now, so hopefully you can hear me. Again, my car is just getting pounded on by all this rain. But yeah, Hook was a game I had in my youth. It's very much like the JVC Super Star Wars games on the Super Nintendo. I just feel like I'm gonna get swept away in a tornado. It's like also tornado season. We had this game way back in the day. It was produced by Sony, and the graphics are amazing, and I think it even has a much more incredible soundtrack. I remember the gameplay being somewhat difficult, but again, I was much younger, you know, maybe it's different now. But I saw this, again, out of nostalgia, had to grab it. Also a big fan of the Hook movie starring Robin Williams. And lastly, I grabbed this. On the Super Nintendo, we have Royal Rumble. I couldn't remember if I have this or not in my collection, but I'm like, I'm just going to grab it anyways. I was playing the old Sega CD, Rage in a Cage, the other day, and I just have so many fond memories of the older LGN wrestling games. They're so simple compared to the wrestling games we have nowadays. And for me, again, everything's fueled by nostalgia. I wanted to re-add this to my collection. You know, very, very fond of this era of wrestling, but also this era of gaming. All right, so hold the phone. My adventure did not end there. All right, so after hanging out at Retro Dimension in Arlington Heights, I made a few more stops to continue my shopping adventure. The first place I went to after the shop is that there's a really cool game shop in Mount Prospect, Illinois called Games Plus. It's kind of like this historical gaming establishment that's been around forever. It's kind of like legendary. Unfortunately, I didn't take any video. It's kind of like a quick stop in the shop. I just kind of wanted to run in and see what's new. The new Warhammer 40K Armageddon box set is out, but I kind of passed up on that just because I have so many miniatures and box sets in my Warhammer backlog that need to be assembled and painted, and I just don't have the time to buy a new box set and just put that in my pile of shame. But while I was there, I did grab this. This was from one of the blind boxes that came out, I think maybe 2 years ago. We have you can see it right here. We have Brother Captain Donato, Blood Angels, and I got this for $10. No, I take it back. I got this for $20. They had the Terminators there for like $10 each, but I really wanted the hero character. And let's take out the runner right now. Just give me a second. Whoops, there we go. Here's the runner. Pretty cool mini. Add this to my Blood Angels army. So yeah, pretty stoked on this. Not sure when I'll get around to actually assembling it. It's going to be a while. So after that, I made my way to Geek Toy Hut in Arlington Heights. Again, I didn't shoot any video. I just kind of ran into the shop. And there was this crazy thunderstorm. It's been storming all day back and forth, so the weather in Chicago is very unpredictable. While I was there, I just grabbed this. This is something that's I've been wanting for a while. We have the Marvel Legends Warbird. I just wanted to kind of add it to my modern Avengers comic book lineup. So really cool figure. A little bit on the pricey end. I think I paid $30 for it, which for me it's kind of reasonable because I think on Amazon it's going for like $40. But really cool figure. Dig this a lot. And then late in the afternoon, I went on a little adventure with my brother to Villa Park, Illinois. And out there's this game shop called Titan Games, Tyton. And they specialize in tabletop gaming like Warhammer, I think Magic the Gathering. And they also have this incredible collection of retro video games. And I had to check that out. And while I was there at Titan, I grabbed a couple of games. The shop it's nice. It's really organized. On one wall they have like all the accessories, controllers, a lot of third-party controllers for some of the classic systems. So if you have like a Dreamcast, a Sega Saturn, a TurboGrafx, or like a PC Engine, you can find replacement controllers for that. They have an incredible selection of like PlayStation 2, PS3 games, a lot of Nintendo Wii, original Xbox 360. For me, while I was there, I'm on the hunt for like old Super Nintendo games, old Genesis games, and if they happen to have them, old Sega Saturn games. And this is what I pulled out while I was there. I grabbed Shaq Fu on the Genesis. Pretty cool game from way back in the day. I mean, it's not on the same level as like Street Fighter. It was kind of trying to capitalize off of that fighting game craze during the early 90s. With stuff like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, all the plethora of Neo Geo games. It was just kind of cool that a celebrity and top tier athlete like Shaq had his own fighting game. He's a professed video game addict, and I think back then even more so. So it's kind of cool to grab this. I had this way back in the day, and they only had the Genesis one. I would like to get the Super Nintendo one in the future, though. Also, while I was at Titan Games, just roaming around and combing through the aisles, and believe me, there's just so much to look at while I was there. I grabbed this from Jellico, We have Brawl Brothers, which I can't remember if this is the same game as Rival Turf. But if I remember correctly, I think this is a side-scrolling beat-em-up. You know, I think much like Double Dragon or Streets of Rage. I think it's been forever since I played this, but I saw this and I'm like, I can't pass this up. You know, I don't always run into these games very often, so I grabbed this. And I'm still on my big EA Sports kick. You know, earlier in the day, I grabbed Bulls versus Blazers, and then they had this for only $12. We have Bulls versus Lakers NBA playoffs, and again, like I mentioned earlier, you know, I grew up during the '90s in the Chicagoland area during the whole Bulls legacy, and this was just something I just had to add to the collection. I'm not too picky about, you know, whether or not these games are mint or not. Like I said, I'm just buying a lot of these just to dump them onto my Polymega console. Again, if you haven't heard about the Polymega, it's this really cool console that allows you to take your own physical copies of video games from, I think, like, for CD-based, like Sega Saturn, PC Engine, Sega CD, PlayStation 1. You can, like, dump them onto your... If you have the actual Polymega console itself, you can dump them onto the Polymega. If you have the Polymega Remix, you could dump them onto your gaming rig, which I'm currently doing. And then you can also do older 8-bit and 16-bit cartridges if you have the correct modules. You know, right now I have the Mega Drive module, which allows me to dump Sega games like the Genesis and 32X. And then there's also a Super Nintendo module that allows you to dump SNES games and also Super Famicom. So for me, it's kind of cool. Like, I know, you know, there's all those places online where, you know, you could get ROMs and stuff, but there's just something very special about taking your own actual video games and backing them up. And the way Polymega archives and catalogs it in their app, in their UI interface, it's really neat. I dig it a lot. So for me right now, it's just kind of cool, especially with all the talk about people complaining about, you know, Sony pulling the plug on physical media. You know, for me, I saw it coming. You know, I've been a console gamer since since the old Atari when I was very, very little. And then, you know, over the last, you know, maybe like 10 to like 12 years, I've been doing a lot of PC gaming as well. So, I mean, I'm kind of used to like buying stuff off digital storefronts like Steam. And in all honesty, it's like, you know, a lot of games you buy nowadays, they don't fit the entire game on disc. You have to like actually be online and download the game. So, you know, I saw it coming. Unless you're a big fan of like the collector's editions that comes with like the statues or the CDs or the art books, I can see you being upset. But for me, it's like, it's just the evolution of video gaming right now. So, you know, we'll see how it fares in the future. But, you know, physical media isn't dead. The Switch still supports physical media. PlayOn's re-releasing the PlayOn's re-releasing the Neo Geo Advanced Entertainment System, the AES, which is awesome because it's actually going to be very reasonably priced. And then the games are going to be priced a lot cheaper than the original games also. Even though the games like $90, it's a lot cheaper than what you paid back in the day. Like back in the day, a Neo Geo cartridge would run you about $250 to $300 depending on the game, but you know, now you're gonna be paying $90, which isn't bad considering like a lot of new modern games. If you want the full experience, you're paying over $100. Like I think for the new Forza game on Xbox, I think I bought the deluxe version for like maybe like $120, which is kind of ridiculous. So yeah, that's pretty much it. A lot of game hunting, looking for some action figures, and you know, summertime's always a good season for it. It just kind of sucks that everything just costs a lot more than it used to. But if you have like a collectible toy shop in your area, you know, that carries vintage toys or secondhand toys, it's always a nice alternative to like, you know, than like Walmart or Targets, because you know you're paying a lot for those figures. But at some of these secondhand toy stores or video game stores, you can find stuff cheap if you know where to look. All right, so let's officially wrap this one up. I survived the craziest storms. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer subscriber, thank you so much for continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys and games, and I will see you at the next one. All right, later.